Yeah, look at this place. Typical Sholmes. So this is where the great detective makes his living. It feels surreal to be here somehow. There's a violin. There's quite a huge contraption on the left. What the hell is that? It is as described in the stories, Mr. Sato. Susato-san? Many famous cases have been solved here in this very room. Oh. I suppose they must have been, yeah. I read the stories, so it's hard to get quite as excited about it as she used to be. The detective chases the villain relentlessly as he disappears into the fog down an unlit London street. Oh, the thrill of it. The romanticism. Can't you feel your heart thumping in your chest? I do! I do! Even though I don't technically have a heart, like in a literal sense, one that pumps. Can't you, Miss Naruto? Oh, I suppose I can, yes. So, if you don't mind, I'll just stand here and soak up the atmosphere for a little while longer. Please, don't mind me. She's obsessed. Well, it looks like our detective friend isn't home at present. Excuse me, is anybody home? Shomzi? Oh, do you have a visitor? Oh, it's Shomes! Hey. Here's a cute version of what I was expecting. Hello. Is the big new case for Mr. Shomes? Hello. Yeah, figured that you had something to do with Shomes. You're more than likely the one who is making, like, the gadgets for Shomes, aren't you? I mean, even that design on your goggles. It reminds me of what we've seen on Shomes' coat. Wait, aren't you... Oh, how rude of me. I'll go make some tea at once. I'm sure it's the same girl. Sato, you see the girl who was just here? Yes. Isn't it truly extraordinary? To think that the King of Bohemia came to this very room to ask Mr. Shomes to take on his case. The King Boeria? King Wilhelm Gottschalk Sigismund von Arnstein, of course. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Okay, forget the adventures of Harold Shomes for a moment, and look over there! Dispute! And I have a freshly baked cake as well. Oh, well, aren't you just sweet? Thank you. Huh, it's you! I knew it. So Sato-san recognizes her too. It wasn't just my imagination. Huh, there you are. I'm taking that with you as well. I was looking forward to the trial run of my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Oh, good day to you. I'm, well, the inventor, I suppose, of that machine. You suppose? Is the girl who turned up at the end of Mr. McGillicud's trial in the defendant's antechamber. I've never met a lawyer from the Far East before. For you have to get straight to work when you've only just arrived in London. Yeah, it was challenging. Well, try this tea. It's my special blend, you know. Oh, thank you. Is tea supposed to look that color? Oh my. What a fragrant yet mellow flavor. Hooray! It's a winner! I tried blending different leaves designed to alleviate fatigue, you see. You must be exhausted after your long voyage here. And you have another ticklish trial tomorrow. Jeez, I mean, you surely know a lot about us. Oh,
I'm here to defend the Japanese man. I do wish you lots and lots of luck.
Uh,
Did Mr. Sholmes tell you about us, by any chance?
more than likely.
Oh, you know Hurley, do you?
Hurley? Mr. Sholmes to you, surely?
Mr. Sholmes was a fellow passenger on the boat that brought us to Great Britain, you see. Was he really? Well, I had no idea.
Sure, he had no idea. I mean, he must have told you a lot about what happened on that boat.
I'm afraid Hurley's out on an errand again today. Even though he's just returned from overseas.
Wait a minute. We met this girl for the first time ever yesterday after the trial. And only briefly at that. How does she know so much about us? Did she deduce all those things, do you think?
And perhaps more to the point.
Well, that would actually be pretty cool. If she actually deduced all that, somehow. That she's a smart cookie.
Why did she appear in Mr. Sholmes' suit? Oh, silly me. I even did this myself, have I? It's a great pleasure to meet you both. My name is Iris... Wilson.
Iris...
I live here together with Hurley.
Ah, Iris, is it? What a lovely name. Does remind me of a completely different Iris that I've known a long time ago.
What?
What's the matter?
No, wait. This cannot be. Did you say that your name is Wilson?
Måste man nog satsa. Why is she so flustered all of a sudden? I mean, it surely cannot be a coincidence.
Yeah, that's right. And what are your names?
You know! You surely must know our names. I'm Ryonas Naruto, a lawyer from Japan. And I am Noby Grand, detective assistant for the defense attorney.
Oh, sorry. I'm Miss Naruto's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoma. It's wonderful to meet you. Ah, lovely. Susie and Bruno. And Grandi. Got it. Susie?
Grandi? And Bruno? What did this girl that missed the eye? I have so many questions for her. I don't know where to start.
Yes, and so do I.
Alrighty then, sweetie. Actually, before we go into the heavy topics right over here, let me search around here. This room must be like a gold mine for Sherlock Holmes stories.
Mystery shoe, a curious hammer, some mysterious dancing men, a bust of Napoleon. Ah, what an entrancing collection.
This is the first time in my life that I've seen a lonely old shoe displayed as an ornament.
Oh, those are all mementos that Hurley has collected from his past cases.
Really? Even the bust?
Yep, that's right. And the mood takes him, he likes to throw it on the floor and smash it to dust.
And then put it back together? The poor defenseless emperor. Mr. Sholmes destroys it?
Yep, and then he buys a new one.
You make it sound like he has the temperament of an insane sculptor.
Ah, how interestingly bohemian of him.
Is that so? Do bohemians do that in their spare time? I do like this fireplace. It's one of the best things I've seen since we arrived in the country, in fact. So warm. Oof. Lingering beside the fire and watching the flames flicker and dance in the grate. Ah, so relaxing.
We can all relax. No wonder there are so many interesting things on the mantelpiece. Oh, it's just as it was described in the stories.
It is?
Yeah, exactly. Inside that Persian slipper, for example. And my checklist for 11sies.
For 11sies?
And transfixed by that large jackknife. Is my shopping list for the bucket. Oh. It's not quite how I remember it being described in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
Oh. Poor Susato-san. She looks crushed. Expectations versus reality. I guess. Let's give it 40, but I cannot find anything on the place. There's all sorts on these shelves. Chemistry apparatus, books, papers, and lots of things I've never seen before. It's all heaped up so high, I cannot help feeling that the whole lot is going to topple at any moment.
I keep telling Harry not to cram so much on those shelves.
It is good advice.
He wanted to look something up in one of those books a while ago. But it was so tightly wedged in, he couldn't get it out. So he went and bought a new copy instead.
You know, imagine, like, given how Sholmes was on the boat, like how hyperactive he was, like, he pretty much destroys his own place on a daily basis around here. He probably topples books like daily because of his energy. Okay. What else? Tea time? It looks like the huge metal chest is being used as a table for tea and coffee. It seems very sturdy, with an equally sturdy lock.
Miss Naruto, you mustn't go around opening things. I always have to keep an eye on you, don't I?
You're very mischievous. Hey. You were looking inside that chest too, like a minute ago.
Well, that's different.
How did you come to that conclusion? In fact, I feel like before we leave this house, we're gonna have to check Susato's pockets, just to make sure.
Ooh, that chest. Contains some of my most valuable things.
And that sound tells me you're not going to give us any clue about what they are.
No, siree. And if you're gonna open that chest, I'm gonna pulverize you with my ray gun.
Cause she would definitely have like a ray gun, for sure. Okay, what else? Can we sit on the chair? Sit on the same chair that Sholmes is? I don't know. I've seen pictures of Western musical instruments like this. It's called a violin, isn't it?
Of course it is. Sholmes is renowned for his violin playing.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. It's often explained in the stories. It's inspirational, Miss Naruto. Inspirational! I immediately started playing the koto, which was the closest Japanese stringed instrument I could find.
Well, I don't know about koto. Maybe there was also the shamisen. What a shame you couldn't bring it with you to London.
Oh, yeah. Well, Papa was beaming when I asked him if he would buy me one. But after a while, he asked if I would only practice when he was out of the house. So, now it's merely an ornament in my room.
Awkward. Okay then. There are some chemicals around here. Hey, there's some green stuff too. Oh my. What's this? Is this like a giant microscope? What on earth is this huge over-the-top machine?
That's a great analytoscope. It can analyze anything, really. Anything at all. That's absolutely incredible. It's one of Harley's inventions. It took him a whole year. He said he wants to help him with his investigations. What sort of things has he analyzed with it? Do you know? Well, actually, he hasn't used it for anything yet.
He hasn't.
Oh.
Why not? Maybe because it makes things too easy? He doesn't need that kind of stuff. He has his own mind. Then again, I've seen him use like gadgets before, so I don't know.
Apparently, on the evening he finally completed it, it suddenly occurred to him. I don't actually have anything I need to analyze. Oh dear. How about you, Nuno? Do you have anything you'd like to analyze?
The only thing that springs to mind is this machine itself. Is there an analytoscope for this analytoscope? But then again, like if we were to find that analytoscope that analyzes this analytoscope, we will want to analyze that analytoscope as well, that second analytoscope. In which case we would need like a third analytoscope that analyzes the second analytoscope that analyzes the first analytoscope. In which case we're gonna need like a fourth analytoscope to analyze the third analytoscope, in order to analyze the second analytoscope, and in order to analyze the first analytoscope. In which case we're definitely gonna need like a fifth analytoscope, and I'm just gonna stop it right there, because if I were to continue like that, this is gonna be the entire commentary for the next 5 hours. It was you that we ran into yesterday, wasn't it? At the Old Bailey.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, it was so helpful. Thank you so much. Oh no, not at all. I'm so sorry we couldn't have been more welcoming.
Though, at the time, we did have a rather large gun pointed at us.
Like this?
Yeah, like that.
Thinking back now. You left with Miss Lestrade in tow, didn't you?
Yeah, and that awkward witness, Gina Lestrade.
Oh, Jeannie? Yeah, she's a professional pickpocket.
So he found out.
It was very naughty of her to pinch my invention like that.
Are you referring to that trial-disrupting gun-like contraption?
Exactly. So I followed her, you see, to get it back. Perhaps I should think about fitting a self-destruct mechanism in my inventions.
I don't know about that one, I mean... Have you ever been in a court before? It's not very pleasant if you were to do something like that. This guy is dangerous.
Anyway, I brought Jeannie back here after that, so she could apologize to my trusty technician.
Sorry, your technician?
Harley, of course. Silly. Harley? Yeah, Hairlock. Hairlock Shams. We live here together.
I had no idea the great detective has such a interesting young daughter.
Daughter? Not likely.
What?
I wouldn't call him Hurley if he was my father, would I?
Well then, what is your relationship with Mr. Shams? Yeah, I feel like this is a touchy subject. I don't know.
I expect you found out that lodgings of any kind in London are very expensive. So the solution is to share the cost with a partner. A roommate.
Your roommates?
I hope you don't mind me asking, Iris, but how old are you? 10 at last, this year.
Well, what of your mother and father?
Oh no. They're not around.
Are you okay with that? I see. I wonder what the story is there.
Oh yes. There's something I must ask you. Of course, of course. Go ahead, Susie. I'm a very great fan of the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, and... You have a copy of Rand's magazine? Yes, I read every issue. It's delivered all the way to Japan on a ship. Oh, this is exciting. My stories are being read on the other side of the world.
Oh, Oh, so you're the one who is writing these, eh? My stories.
That's right. He is always solving such amazing cases, you see. And he tells me all about them. They really are quite fascinating. It would be such a shame if I was the only one who ever heard them, don't you think?
Goodness!
Last night, he was telling me all about a new case he just solved on a steamship traveling from a faraway land. I was just in the middle of typing up the manuscript for the next issue before he came.
You know, you heard that, Ryonosuke? Susato? We're gonna be famous!
So you are the author? And I'm gonna be part of Sherlock Holmes' adventures too? Yep, I'll let you in a secret if you like. I'm going to call this latest adventure The Speckled Band.
Has a nice ring to it. The Speckled Band. Oh, it's certainly very familiar.
Of course, I just changed one or two details in the stories, here and there. This time, I had the idea of making a venomous snake be the cause of all the trouble.
Oh. No, that was Mr. Sholmes' first thought as well, actually.
Yep. And of course, I know that the snake might not be a credible fit for the facts of the case exactly, but... it's a story. Some poetic license is justified to make it more fitting, I think. Don't you? So, do you mean to say... are the stories about Mr. Sholmes that are published in Rand's magazine written by me? Yep! On my wonderful and very modern typewriter. But all those stories I've ever read are written by a doctor of medicine, Dr. John H. Wilson.
Sato-san is getting more and more worked up.
Yeah. That's me. I mean, my name really is Wilson. But what about the doctor of medicine part?
Is it because she used John H. Wilson, he used that name as a pen name for herself? You know, when I think of it like that, it kind of makes me question what Susato thought about the first case. Since Wilson is more than likely the same Wilson that died in the first case, and we had to investigate his murder. Like, what did Susato think? That the writer of her favorite stories has died. We didn't really get to hear her thoughts on that, since now we're talking about this.
That's all true too. I am a doctor of medicine.
No. At 10 years old? I mean, same case for inventions. She's creating all that stuff.
At 10 years old.
That's quite incredible.
But Dr. Wilson is an English gentleman. Yes. I did alter the setting slightly, for the stories to be more compelling. Oh. Well, it sounds a little strange, doesn't it? A great detective with a 10-year-old girl in tow.
I suppose it does, yes. Poor Sato-san. She looks like her whole world has just fallen apart. Again, expectations versus reality. Okay then. I mean, in my eyes, it is a lot better than what the Susato was thinking. I mean, instead of one genius, now I have two geniuses. About before.
Yes? What's in your mind, Uno? Do tell me.
How did you know that I was a lawyer and we just arrived in London? I mean, there is the badge on Ryonosuke's arm, so there's also that.
Yeah. Oh, and then we have a difficult trial tomorrow. How did you know all of that? Oh, that's what you mean. Please, tell us how you did it. Explain every detail. Of course. I'd be delighted. Although, there's really no mystery. Now, let's begin.
Oh my.
Iris Wilson is proud to present her Logic and Reasoning Spectacular.
Hey!
First of all, I knew already that you are a lawyer, no? After all, I met you yesterday at the Old Bailey in the defendant's antechamber.
But you also said that we only just arrived in London. How did you know that?
I observed a passport and travel ticket protruding from your breast pocket.
Oh my. Oh.
So I was reasonably confident that you must have only just arrived in the country. And on top of that, you examined the case against that particular prosecutor, telling me you were unaware of London's court affairs.
I know, right? Rookie mistake. Dirty per the Bailey. I walked right into that one, didn't I?
Then I noted a red ink stamp on the back of Cece's hand. You were given that when you visited the local prison to meet with the suspect, weren't you? Earlier today. Ah. They used those stamps to keep a close eye on comings and goings, you see.
I didn't realize.
And the red stamp is only used for people visiting foreign inmates. So, that told me that even though you had only yesterday concluded the trial of Magnus McGilded, the two of you had already had cause to visit a foreign inmate at a local prison. However, neither of you was wearing a particularly sad expression in her face. So, I concluded that the prisoner was unlikely to be a friend or a relative. That led me to believe that you must have accepted a new case.
I see.
How could you have known that the trial is tomorrow? Well, having barely been home a few hours yesterday, Harley solved yet another case. It honestly amused him. He told me he caught a Japanese man who was bawling and traveling.
Yeah. And I guess you made a connection with what you just said before about Ryonosuke. A Japanese man. Oh, clearly there must have been...
Mr. Natsume. Now, Uno has that fancy Japanese sword. And I think your outfit is called a kimono, isn't it, Suzy? Well, anyway, it was clear to me that you both come from Japan yourselves. So I put two and two together and decided you must be defending the Japanese man already caught. And there was only one conclusion those facts could lead me to. You both came here to ask Hurdy about the case. There's a note on the mantelpiece that says the man's trial will be tomorrow. Hurdy's always stabbing his notes with a knife, you know. He is silly.
Bravo. Bravo! You're gonna become a great detective one day, surely.
And that's all there was to it, really. Thank you for listening. I'm Iris Wilson, and that was one of my great deductions.
Man, talk about a true sponge.
Well, was it a winner? Were my deductions correct?
I'd surely give that like an 11 out of 10. They were spot on, actually.
That was amazing, Iris. Truly a great deduction.
Even managed to discern something of Mr. Sholmes' delivery.
Oh, well, I was just copying Hardy's style for that. This is really very good news. You can tell us all about the case involving the Japanese man. You will, won't you, Iris? Please.
Indeed. Let's ask you about the case. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to having Iris in our team for investigations. Like instead of Herlock Sholmes. Like if we were to have both of them, then never mind having like successful cases like left and right. The cases would explode in itself in the first days. It wouldn't be fair. So yesterday, Mr. Sholmes apprehended a Japanese man. You're saying
Yes. He had just arrived back in London on the sea voyage. But the police were waiting for him at the railway station to take him directly to the crime scene.
Huh. That right detective is a popular man, it seems.
Apparently, a woman was stabbed on a quiet street somewhere in town. There were witnesses who had seen a short, shifty-looking stooped man running away from the scene. A short, shifty-looking stooped man.
Is that how the man described himself?
This nuts me, beyond any doubt.
Saseki-san said that he didn't see anybody else on the street at all. Since there were witnesses after all.
Hardy used his great detective powers to determine the man's address. He was a lodging room, near nearby. He went directly there with the police. And what did they find? A short, shifty-looking, stooped man, shivering in fear.
Ugh. Mr. Sholmes' great deduction certainly hit the mark that time.
Of course it did. He's a great detective.
Still, that means the incident occurred only 2 days ago. I just thought of this. Like, you can definitely think that Iris learned from Sholmes how to do these deductions and such. But what if it's the opposite way around? What if Sholmes is the one who learned from Iris? How about this? It will surely be something. Surely tomorrow is too soon for the trial, isn't it?
Definitely. We have no time to investigate properly. Hardy says that London is rife with crime.
Oh.
Scotland Yard is doing its best, but it cannot stay on top of it, apparently. Oh dear. I realized that this situation was so dire. That's why they cannot afford to spend too much time investigating cases and trying the criminals in court.
I guess so. I guess there's also that factor. They are being a little bit too careless with some of the cases that they have. That they deem like low priority, because they definitely would deem this one a low priority.
Staff and money are both short. Perhaps they're usually pinned on the first suspicious person. That's terrible. I suppose it's the harsh reality of the workings of the world's greatest justice system.
I suppose it is. But in that case, I don't hold out much hope for Soseki-san. Let's not think of it that way. We don't know this game. Let's not think of it that way. Okay, well, thank you for answering so many of our questions, Iris. That'll be very informative.
Oh, you're most welcome. We've had so much fun.
I'm glad you had, sweetie. You happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is at the moment? As a guest, we'd like to ask him some questions about this case as well.
Oh, well, I expect Hardy is still investigating the scene.
Of the case involving Mr. Natsuemin?
Yep. Mr. Nets, Ome? Hardy said he was going to the man's lodgings. If you leave now, you'll probably catch him there.
Alright, well, let's not dilly-dally anymore. Let's go!
Iris, do you know where those lodgings are? Well, I imagine the police are still investigating the scene of the crime themselves, aren't they? Did you happen to come across a detective by the name of Gregson when you were there?
Yeah, he was surely a hoot as well. Quite angry with Sholmes. Yeah, we know Inspector Gregson.
Ah, goody. In that case, give Greg this for me, would you? If you do that, I'll sure he'll tell you what you want to know.
Oof. Like approval from Iris? That will lead us to victory? Sign me up for that one.
A 5-shilling piece and a postcard, it seems.
A card from Inspector Gregson with a message on the back from Iris.
It reads, "Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem."
So it's less of a it is less of a message from a friend and more like a threat here.
Gosh, this will make the inspector help us with it. This will make the inspector help us with it.
Well, thank you, Iris. We'll give it a try. Alrighty then, let me examine this a little bit. 221 Baker Street, London, NY1. Tell the gentleman in black whatever you want. Like, if Gregson is not gonna do this, then he's gonna get pulverized by Iris's ray gun. Iris's little drawing is adorable, isn't it?
Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants. I trust that won't be a problem.
Yeah. The handwriting might be adorable, but the message is ominous. There's no room for sentiment there.
I'm sure it's simply the way you're interpreting it, Miss Naruhodo. Anyway, I do hope the inspector will tell us what we need to know when he reads this.
You don't think it will just... You don't think it will just make him munch piping hot chips until steam comes off his ears, do you?
Well, that wouldn't be an entirely terrible outcome.
You surely won't. Okay then.
Good luck, Dan. I'm going to return to writing my manuscript. The Speckled Band. And I'll be making more special blends of tea. So come back again soon. I'd be delighted. Thank you so much, Iris.
Alright.
Well, Miss Naruhodo, it's back to the scene of the crime.
So, somewhat dubious that they would exert any influence over the men of Scotland Yard at all. We headed back to the scene with Iris's curious note, and one of the world's heaviest silver coins in hand. Hey yo, motherfuckers, we are back! And if you thought that you could stop us from investigating, well, think again. It looks as though the police are still here, carrying on with their investigation.
Perfect. So let's find Inspector Gregson as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And let's see if he'll take a break from his chips to look at that silver tip Iris gave us for him. Hey! What up, yo? We are here to present you something. Take a look at this! Take a look at this beautiful card right over here, written by a certain someone. Inspector Gregson, do you have a moment? Sorry to say I don't. I am a very busy man. Much too busy to talk to a pair of foreign get-abouts. That's for sure.
We have these for you. A present from Miss Iris Wilson.
You almost made me choke on my chips. For me? From her ladyship? Her ladyship? Give that here, at once! Come on, hand it over! That's for me. Don't wait for me to give it to you, will you? What was that coin exactly? It's a silver crown, obviously. But it's a lot more than that. It's an appearance fee. That's what it is.
An appearance fee? Oh, I see. You mean...
That's right. For the adventures of Herlock Sholmes. Her ladyship always offers me a little financial reward for featuring me. Every time. So she offers money for those that make into the stories?
Yeah, of course. I know all about your exploits, Inspector. I read them vividly.
Of course, her using my name without my say. So it does make me the butt of a lot of unpleasant jokes. But still. I'm sorry, Inspector. That must be difficult for you. Well, never you mind that. As long as I get paid, after all. So, what do you want to know then, eh? Sorry? Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem, it says. Well, obviously, it's not a problem. Go on, fire away. What do you want to know? Because if you're not gonna tell me, I'm gonna get in trouble. Hey, guys, no, and God knows you don't want to know what those problems are gonna be.
Well, if you won't mind, Inspector, we'd very much like to know the address of Mr. Natsume's lodgings.
Ah, the little knife-wielding mustache Japanese fellow. He lives in the right old hovel. It's just over there. Look. Oh, Strand Street, okay. Like right over here. On the first floor of that house on the corner, where that wreck of a bicycle is propped up.
That is nearby indeed.
If I remember rightly, the landlord is a Mr. John Gardeb. Right, well, if you see her again, you make sure you give her ladyship my regards, you hear? Huh. Like, I am pretty curious why you're calling her ladyship. I mean it. You tell her that Gregson sends his very best wishes. Don't worry, Inspector, he will. Goodbye for now, then. And long live her ladyship. Long live her ladyship. Okay.
Well, at least told us what we wanted to know before he left.
Indeed. The landlord. I mean, no doubt, after the incident right over here with the almost murder of the victim, of the stabbing of the victim, Natsume definitely went home. Like right over here. Something tells me that the landlord is also a witness. Maybe he witnessed some stuff that happened from right over here. Like, they were probably watching from the window, and they noticed Natsume come in as well. It is certainly a possibility. Yeah. So then, shall we go and see what we can find in Mr. Natsume's lodgings?
Definitely.
Alrighty then. Well, before that though, since this is actually pretty important, like a pretty important place, this is where the lodgings are, so I wonder if this bicycle has something to do with this.
A British bicycle. Look. Although the wheel is so misshapen, I'm sure it couldn't possibly be ridden anymore.
Someone must have been doing some breakneck cycling.
It seems bicycles have become extremely popular in London recently. There's even a movement to change women's dress to allow them to ride as well.
And the bicycle fad won't last. I don't see why anyone would want to ride something like that. I don't know.
Goodness. Do you dislike bicycles?
No, not at all. I mean, it's not that I dislike them exactly. I mean, it can be possible that I might have hated bicycles when I was a child because I would fall off of them like often. It's just that any occupation that involves taking both your feet off firm ground seems reckless. And what do you have to say about the omnibuses, though? If you ever tried walking on stilts and falling into a river, I know you'd agree with me.
We'll have to hire bicycles sometime. You can sit behind me while I ride you around.
Okay. Street lamps. Okay. That's rather typical brick building, isn't it?
According to Inspector Gregson, that's the house where Mr. Natsume has lodgings.
Just across the road from where the incident took place. I see. Quite a huge coincidence. Like, I wonder if whoever did this, like the true culprit, actually knew to pin the crime on Natsume because they live like right over here, which would make it easier for the culprit. Or it's just a huge coincidence that they would pin the crime on a nearby citizen, and it is just a coincidence that their house is like right near the incident that took place. Nah, I don't think so. I feel like the culprit knew about this, and they chose this place specifically. I don't have any evidence for that, it's just a probability for right now. It must be woeful for Soseki-san, getting caught up in something like this in a foreign land. Alrighty then. Well, let's see about this. A new location has been added, and that will be Soseki's lodgings. Not very Japanese.
May I help you?
Yes. Would this be the residence of Mr. John Gary Depp? Ah, okay. I was thinking this was not his room specifically.
Indeed it would, sir. Who may I say is calling?
My name is Ryonosuke Naokodo, and
Miss Naruto is representing Mr. Soseki Natsume. I believe he takes lodgings here. Oh! We would very much like to ask him some questions about our client. One moment, please. I shall convey the message to Mr. Garideb.
Alrighty then. Did you see that, Mr. Sato? That was a real-life English maid.
I know. As I understand it, anyone outstanding in English society employs a number of household staff.
Kind of makes me question if we're ever gonna see the maid, like one of the jurors that was the maid in the last case. I wonder if we're gonna see her again in the future.
But that was the first time I ever seen one in the flesh. This just keeps getting better.
It suddenly feels like we've really arrived now, doesn't it?
We need only to meet a butler, and the experience will be complete.
Let it be known, Susato actually has like a checklist of stuff to do in London, including seeing a butler. I wonder if she wants to climb all the way on top of the Big Bang as well. I'm not sure if I'd go that far, but I understand the sentiment.
Thank you for waiting. Mr. Garideb will see you now. This way.
Alrighty then. Well, first things first, I am pretty curious about some stuff around here. I notice you have a pile of books here, Mr. Garideb. Do you enjoy reading? Ever experienced a London winter, boy? The nights are long. No better way to pass the time than in front of the fire with a jolly good book.
Oh, there's a copy of your friend's magazine here, I see. Well, Mr. Garideb enjoys the adventures of Sherlock Holmes too.
The great detective has a great many followers, it would seem. You know, we keep hearing about the adventures of Sherlock Holmes, like the book. And, yeah. In real life, there's also a book like that. I even have it myself. But that's like the only book that is referenced. Are there like no other books that are written separately? Like A Study in Scarlet? I mean, I assume that the way it is done right over here, like The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes encompasses all of the stories that are written separately in different books and such. They're all compiled in one book, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Like all of the adventures. Not just like the bite-sized adventures that are written in the actual Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. That's a full-size canon. What's it doing here?
Oh my, it's real. I thought me might be a replica.
It's real? That old thing? Pah, that's a lot more than a toy. Sorry? The army was selling it off when I retired, so I decided to give it a new home. Never know when the enemy might attack next. Jolly useful to have a cannon about the house. Why, you're just gonna use it like in front of the window? Like, enemies ahead, on the streets! And they're gonna be like, you're gonna use your cannon to destroy your enemies? Man, imagine if every house would have a cannon like this. Like every person, like every citizen will be prepared for war in that case. Like imagine the enemy soldiers coming in to invade the city, and surprise, surprise, the citizens are packing heat. And not with just Tommy guns or something like that, with freaking cannons. Really? Isn't that overkill? Be prepared, I always say. You never know what this twisted world is going to throw at you next, boy.
Do you think there may be trouble brewing, Mr. Garydeb?
I don't know. Given these harsh years that we are in right now, something tells me that there are going to be some wars in the future. Oh, is this? Take Joan here. Never fails to have a clean apron in reserve. Dries them over the barrel, you see. They dry very well on the calendar. Joan tells me. I'd rather proves my point, I feel. Here, there's a drying rack. No wonder the huge cannon looks like it's hanging its head in shame.